All right, I'm here with Terry Spence for the January 2024 Spotlight for the Seven Lakes newsletter. How you doing today, Terry?
Great.
Doing good?
Better every minute.
Very good. Did you have a good Christmas?
Wonderful.
Okay, we'll go right into it then. Terry, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've been a resident of Seven Lakes for quite a while. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
Actually born in Dayton, Ohio during World War II. My father worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. But shortly after that, we moved to a farm in Chillicothe, Ohio, which is halfway between Columbus and the Ohio River. I grew up there until age 6 when we moved to Berea, Ohio. My dad took a new job working for a company out of Dayton, Ohio. Had the whole entire state of Ohio as his territory. And we moved to Berea, Ohio, which is about 12 miles outside of Cleveland, right by the Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. Great little town, suburban city, 9,000 people, landlocked. And I lived there and had all my schooling there all the way through my bachelor's degree, which was at Baldwin Wallace College, a small Methodist college right there in that town.
Okay. So what was your degree in? What'd you major in? What'd you minor in?
Well, I had a lot of trouble with majors. I first started out as a Methodist minister, and then I went on to psychology, and I majored in psychology, and I ended up majoring in business management and a minor in speech. So I didn't know what I wanted to do all the way through undergraduate school, and the college hired me to start working full time when I was a sophomore. So I was working full time for the admissions office while I was finishing school, and I just kept going to school year round, so I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then I got lured away over to the east side of Cleveland to Case Western Reserve University to be an assistant director of admissions over there, a place where I then worked for a number of years and ultimately became the director of admissions there at Case Western Reserve after a stint with thinking I was going to go to Vietnam, and then all of a sudden I was too old and didn't end up going. So I was then promoted to the director, and I worked there for several years before being recruited to come to the state of Florida at a brand new state university in Miami called FIU. I worked there 11 years and then retired from the state university system of Florida. So I had over 20 years in higher educational administration, had jobs in admissions and recruiting and all of the fundraising and development and university relations and legislative relations, both in the public sector and the private sector. A lot of years in higher education.
Okay, so you've been everywhere.
Well, I was there, and then, ironically enough, I got recruited by a board member who owned a company in Cleveland. While I was working in Miami, he recruited me to go into aviation. And I'll never forget what I told the guy who wanted to hire me as his vice president of sales and marketing for an aviation company he held in Miami. I said, I don't know anything about aviation. He said, I have 1,000 people I employ who know too much about aviation. He said, I need somebody I can talk to. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. I thought that was the most interesting reason to hire me. Of course, he knew me from Cleveland, so he knew what he wanted. And that began a 10-year career in aviation sales, which I never ever planned for, expected, but I loved. And it certainly gave me a chance to travel the world, more so than I ever imagined I would, ever. So much so that we decided then that we should settle down. My daughter was becoming a teenager, and my wife said I could use some help with this one because my daughter is quite a handful, very much, I think, like my wife thought I was.
When did you meet your wife?
I met my wife in Cleveland at Case Western Reserve University, and less than 6 months after we got married is when I got recruited to Florida, so I moved her to Miami, much to the chagrin of her Ohio-bred parents. She was an only child. I was an only child. We had an only child. So small family, tight-knit family.
Right.
And I have enjoyed 54 wonderful years with her before I lost her in early 2022.
Sorry.
And we lived here in Seven Lakes for about 15 years. So after we'd moved away into a medical community up in Bradenton, I didn't hesitate to move back into Seven Lakes. So I'm now in my, I guess, 17th, 18th year here in Seven Lakes, living in Seven Lakes at various stages. So um, very, very happy here, a lot of friends here, wonderful community, as good a place as any in the world to live in as far as I'm concerned.
So let's go back to that. You were in Ohio, then Miami, and then Seven Lakes. Is that
Well, that's correct. What happened was
rough timeline?
after 10 years in aviation, I decided I needed to find a job in Miami, which is where my child was growing up and where my bride was living more alone than she ever wanted to while I was traveling the world. So um, I became a financial planner for Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. I knew all of the people in insurance because I was very active in the Chamber of Commerce there in Miami in those years, and several of them made me interesting offers. Well, I went to work with MetLife, and that began an almost 20-year career as a financial planner, which was spectacular for me. 10 of the 20 years I worked from home. You got to do your own schedule, um, and built up a tremendous business of business owners, and did a lot of special things for MetLife, like financial planning for special needs children and for their families in order to provide a lifetime of income for the special needs child to take care of them after the parent becomes deceased, since many of them outlive their parents. And then I did a lot of estate planning work with some of the attorneys that we worked on the special needs trust. That landed right into a lot of estate planning work and a lot of retirement planning. And in fact, I did my own, and I think it's worked out pretty well. I retired in '07, and it's been a marvelous experience so far. And most of those retirement years have been right here in Seven Lakes. We bought the place in '05, '06, and we finally moved into it in '07, late '07, almost '08. And so from '05 all the way through today, I've had a lot of years here in Seven Lakes.
Okay. So, just want to ask you, since you're always got all this work, you had a crazy career, many different vocations.
Three different, totally unplanned vocations.
Yeah.
I kept saying yes, even though I didn't know what I was saying yes to, I think.
So that's work. What about for fun? What do you do for fun?
Well, for fun, we've always traveled, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, in retirement, I got to play golf. I used to sing a lot when I was young, but I didn't do any of it while I was in my working years. But as soon as I retired, I got back into the Seven Lakes Chorus. When I was 14 or 15 years of age is when I first got into singing, and I'd sang at church and then sang in a barbershop quartet, and we did a radio commercial, and appeared on the Phil Donahue TV show in Cleveland, and that paid for our college.
Oh, that's very
So it was quite an interesting memory, but I didn't do any of it until I got into retirement. And then since then I've been singing a lot. Both my wife and my new partner, Kathy Peterson, and I love to dance, so we go to every dance we can. We go to every special event at the Tea Room or that Lifestyle creates, because we love to go out and enjoy that side of life. So a lot of golf, a lot of dancing, a little bit of singing. Pretty happy life.
Yeah, keep busy. So, work, fun, Seven Lakes. One of the reasons we have these spotlights is actually to highlight residents who have given back to the Seven Lakes community in some way. And so, as to my understanding, you've been involved in several committees, groups, and clubs here.
Yeah, I really have. I didn't expect to get as involved as I did right away, but the very first year that I was here, I took over as condo rep for Condo 1 where we lived, and I was condo rep there for about 15 years, I think. And while doing that, I got involved in some engineering committees. Later on, I was the founding chairman of the first insurance committee here when insurance was becoming a huge part of our budget. and we were able to make some significant improvements in that back in the mid 2014-15 era. Now, of course, insurance is reasserting itself again as a major problem after Hurricane Ian, and with the many weather-related tragedies that are occurring all around the world and changing our weather. So that's something the community is going to have to look at again. I think it's a tough problem right now. But I've enjoyed so many committees. I was on the Recreation Committee, and I was on a number of other committees that I was requested to serve on, and have loved every moment. Plus, we did a lot of entertainment here. I was MC at a lot of different kind of events, the chorus events. I often MC'd the chorus events, and that was a lot of fun. Karaoke had big shows back in those days, and even today, the karaoke night in the tea room is a lot of fun. So there's plenty to do here. There's more to do than what you can find in the way of both social activities and service activities to help the community. This is a big business. This is a big $10+ million a year operation, and it takes a lot of help from the residents in order to properly communicate and run this kind of community. So you need people who are willing to step up.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about being a resident of Seven Lakes, would you say? If you had to pick one, maybe two.
Well, I think the favorite thing about being a resident here is that you can be as busy as you want to be, or you can be as quiet as you want to be. There's more to do than what you can do. So you have such a wide spectrum of amenities here. We looked at hundreds of communities for 5 years before we picked Seven Lakes back in the early 2000s. This community is unusual. This community is owned by itself. This community is managed by itself. This community is enormously diversified. And almost any citizen who comes in and moves into Seven Lakes and becomes a resident, if they don't find something they want to do, all they have to do is hang their shingle out and say, hey, anybody else want to do this? You're probably going to have something that'll want to do it. Because there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of different activities going on here between what the professional lifestyle apartment puts up. I think that's the great thing about Seven Lakes, and it's a place you can be happy and be as involved as you want to be. You can spend as much time with your family wherever you want to spend it, but you know you've always got a home of really close friends here in Seven Lakes. They'll be some of the closest friends you'll ever have in your life, because you're at a time in your life where you can relax, a time in your life where you can get to know everybody, and a time in your life when you share wonderful, fun experiences with people. That's quite a bonding experience, and it's a very young producing experience for those of us in our 70s and 80s that want to act like we're in our 40s.
Yeah, one of the important things as you get older is to stay active and
That's right.
use it or lose
That's
it, right?
healthy in more ways than one.
Exactly. One more question for you here. What do you consider your greatest accomplishment in life?
My greatest accomplishment?
In life, yeah. If you had to pick one thing.
Well, I would say my greatest accomplishment, like almost every man thinks, I guess, is that I had a long, loving relationship with my wife, a wonderful daughter who has presented me with 2 great grandkids to keep me grounded in my senior years. And I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to have a lot of friends and to stumble onto a wonderful partner to begin another chapter in my career at this advanced age, which is about as wonderful a life as anybody can have. And I think navigating all of that and being that fortunate, take advantage of opportunities that come along, I'd say that's my greatest accomplishment. And I'm happy today because of that. And I always say, you know, your life is filled with opportunities to be an infuser or a diffuser. And the key to success is to know when to be which.
Okay. I was going to ask you if you have any advice for a new Seven Lakes resident, but that sounds like good advice in general. But is there anything?
I think it is for everybody.
Yeah.
At least in my lifetime, it served me very well, and if it fits in your lifetime, then you should use it. If it doesn't, you always have the right to throw it away.
Very good. I don't have anything else for you today, but I appreciate your time.
Well, happy 2024 to all of us. We're starting out a very difficult recovery year, and it's going to get better and better, and I can't wait to see everybody feel that spirit as we get through 2024.
Okay. Thank you, Terry.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Phil.
Goodbye.